Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Regional Radio Sports Network. We're broadcasting live in living color from Beef O'Brady's, State Road 23 in beautiful Granger, Indiana. I'm Paul Condry. Thanks for joining us here on the Coach's Box alongside Tanner Camp. We're going to be talking a little American tackle football here today. We're going to be kind of regrouping and taking a look at the 50th annual IHSAA State Football Tournament Series. That's going to be on the horizon. And, of course, those pairings just came out this past Sunday. Yours truly, along with Bob Lover, blessed to be able to be a part of the IHSAA TV.org broadcast, as well as the IHSAA Championship Radio Network. It was a lot of fun in Indy to get to hang out with the commissioner, Paul Neidig, as well as Bob. Didn't be able to do that for the umpteenth year, so we're glad to have that privilege, and we'll be talking about that today. But we're going to also be joined here on the program by the head football coach of the Penn Kingsmen. We're looking forward to visiting one-on-one with the Hall of Famer Cory Yeoman. Boy, he's done a fantastic job. Also slated to be with us on the program, really the patriarch of Penn football. He was with us last week. He's coming back for a cameo appearance. We're going to be joined by five-time state champion, National Coach of the Year, Chris Geesman. That's going to be on the dais this evening. So we encourage you to stick around for the Coach's Box live from Beef O'Brady's, and we will return with our live broadcast from Beef O'Brady's right after this 2-minute timeout on 91.1 FM The Globe and Regional Radio Sports.
Beef O'Brady's is a locally owned, family-operated restaurant designed for food and sports, featuring appetizers, wraps, pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and wings. Beef O'Brady's also broadcasts televised sporting events. The State Road 23 Granger location has carry-out service and includes a party room and an outside patio. More information is available on their website, beefobradys.com, or by calling 574-271-1415. That's 574-271-1415. Beef O'Brady's. Good food, good sports.
Isn't technology wonderful? Buy something with a click, and boom, it's at our door. Hungry? Another click, and ta-da, it's there in a flash. Why should banking be any different? With TCU Mobile and Online Banking, plus our convenient contactless debit MasterCard, you control your finances anytime from anywhere. TCU makes banking easy with technology that simplifies your life. Learn more at tcunet.com. TCU, 90 years of empowering members. Federally insured by NCUA.
The Regional Radio Sports Networks thanks Cuban Networks for their support of high school and college athletics. Since 1986, Cuban Networks is focused on providing a quality experience to their customers. They take computer security seriously and have the necessary tools to keep your digital assets and environment safe. They're located at 103 Polk Street in LaPorte, and their phone number is 219-369-4357. That's 219-369-4357. Cuban Networks, moving and storing data fast and safe. For 30 years, the Lilliard Insurance Agency has been a proud sponsor of local sports in Michiana. Lilliard Insurance Agency is an independent insurance provider which offers its customer auto, home, business, life, and health insurance. They're located at 410 Lincoln Way West in Osceola and 17060 State Road 23 in South Bend. For more information, their phone number is 574-674-0015, and the website is www.realvalueins.com.
Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports. I'm Paul Condry, along with Tanner Camp. Glad you could join us. Don't forget, we've got IHSAA's State Football Tournament coming your way here, and I believe we'll have this, keep in mind, Penn will have the week off. Dante, just want to kind of remind you of that as well. They'll have the week of the 21st off, so we will not have a game on 10/21 here on 91.1 FM. But Penn will be in action with the sectional semis. So they're going to be matched up against a very, very talented Carroll Fort Wayne team. And, of course, right now the Kingsmen are going to be matched up against John Adams on Friday. They come in red hot, winners of 4 straight. I'm going to go out on the limb and make it 5 straight. They have been dynamic, especially defensively, in the last 3 games, where they have only surrendered 3 points in the last 3 games, including back-to-back shutouts at St. Joe and home against New Prairie. And we'll hear from Cory Yeoman momentarily and talk about the maturation of his group. But Tanner, I know the tournament series has been drawn out and everybody's excited. Do you have a Have you sat down and say, this is going to be my team to win 6A, 5A, 4A respectively? Do you have your picks?
What kind of makes it great is the toss-up with all these teams. I mean, of course, we could be slated in 1A to see Lutheran. They've been dynamic again, still on a, I believe, 22 or 23-game winning streak dating back to last season after their undefeated state championship year. We know Adams Central in 1A, they're having another terrific year, so we could see a rematch. But, 6A is a toss-up, especially with Cathedral and the reclassification. I think that's really what makes the all 6 classes interesting is the reclassification of some teams. Of course, the big one, Maryville, dropping down to 5A, so you have to certainly think they're a contender. But, I haven't gotten a chance to look and make any predictions. You've got teams like Brownsburg and Hamilton Southeastern undefeated, and they'll play tomorrow night. So, as of right now, no predictions yet, but I certainly need to do that because we've seen some great football. Another marquee matchup for tomorrow is going to be Indianapolis Cathedral at Center Grove, and it seems like the last 2 years that has always been kind of the good put the bow on the regular season before postseason play comes.
Yeah, and that will be a great football game. That'll be a really good indicator in Class 6A football on what we can anticipate. If you look at the big picture there, Center Grove has just been on a roll in regards to they have moved up the streak now at 11 straight sectional championships. And, of course, they should pick up number 12 relatively easily. Yeah. They'll be at Franklin Central. That should not be a problem there. But realistically, they're in a sectional where there are no power teams. But if you look at some of the other sectionals, a little bit rough for Ho. And I think Cory's group, he's got it's got to be one of the toughest sectionals in the state.
Oh, I know, no question.
Sectional 2 is Carroll at Fort Wayne at Penn and Elkhart at Warsaw. So we'll get some thoughts from Cory here momentarily, and as he breaks this thing down. But they're playing their best football right now. They've won 4 straight games, including 2 straight shutouts. So we're going to take a quick timeout, come back, and we have 2 Hall of Famers at the table here, and Chris Geesman and Cory Yeoman. And we'll talk about the greatness of Penn football that has been since the early 70s with these 2 guys in consecutive terms, if you will. And we'll be back and talk with Gees and Cory. And we'll do that right after this short timeout on 91.1 FM The Globe and Regional Radio Sports.
Beef O'Brady's is a locally owned, family-operated restaurant designed for food and sports, featuring appetizers, wraps, pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and wings. Beef O'Brady's also broadcasts televised sporting events. The State Road 23 Granger location has carry-out service and includes a party room and an outside patio. More information is available on their website, beefobradys.com, or by calling 574-271-1415. That's 574-271-1415. Beef O'Brady's. Good food, good sports. The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is now available in select stores across Indiana and online for order at indianafootballdigest.com. This year's digest is packed to the brim, not only with stats and scores, but in-depth and detailed analysis about each Indiana High School Athletic Association team. It also features a section on Indiana collegiate football and quotes from coaches all around the state, giving readers an inside look at the world of Indiana high school football. The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is available in select stores or online at indianafootballdigest.com.
Numbers are fine at the deli or donut shop. Next. But you deserve better when you're shopping for a loan or checking account. At TCU, you're a member, not a number. It's how we've done business since 1931, and it means an unmatched level of attention. Ready for better banking? Don't take a number. Next. Become a member today at TCU. TCU, 90 years of personal service. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
The Regional Radio Sports Networks thanks Cuban Networks for their support of high school and college athletics. Since 1986, Cuban Networks is focused on providing a quality experience to their customers. They take computer security seriously and have the necessary tools to keep your digital assets and environment safe. They're located at 103 Polk Street in LaPorte, and their phone number is 219-369-4357. That's 219-369-4357. Cuban Networks, moving and storing data fast and safe.
Welcome back here to Beef O'Brady's. Great to join us here on the Coach's Box. I'm Paul Condry, along with young Tanner Camp. Glad that we can be joined here. We appreciate the 2 Hall of Famers spending time with us. I am absolutely grateful back-to-back weeks to spend time with my great friend and, I'll say it, mentor, Chris Geesman, Actually, he's been a mentor for both of the guys here at the stable. And Cory Yeoman, I don't think we could ever say that loudly enough. Right, Cory?
I agree, 100%.
Give us an idea on how much you thought that you would lean on Chris still to this day, and how much do you feel like it's a privilege to have someone so accomplished in your life that you have the privilege to do that?
Oh, yeah. I feel very, very fortunate, and I lean on him so much. I think probably him and Jane would probably like to put me on their taxes, for crying out loud. So spend a lot of time there, a lot of time on the phone, and take a lot of time away from his retirement and talking football.
You know, with the advent of Huddle, is it easy for him to just access stuff and he can take a look at this at his leisure? And that makes it easier, I would think, right?
100%, yeah. It's the old days when we had to carry around one projector to somebody's house, and the next guy would get done, they'd take it to the next coach's house. Those days are over, and that's good for everybody involved.
When you look at it, Chris, do you think if you were to go back and look at coaching with Huddle as an option when you started in the early 70s, do you think that would change the way you coach?
I don't know if it'd change it, but it'd make it a lot easier. I mean, and the one thing I do want to say, what you said earlier, I have never given Cory any advice. And I think that's why we can talk a lot, because I'm never going to tell him, this is what I think you should do. He doesn't need that. This is his program. But I also would never want to leave him hanging. There's times I would say, well, I've tried this when I got in this situation or something like that. But the great thing about it is nobody has ever had an ego problem at Penn High School. If I tell him this is what I did once, it worked pretty good, and he doesn't think it fits his team and doesn't do it, it doesn't bother me one bit, because he is doing such a great job with the team that it's just fun to just bounce things off each other from time to time. My wife says it's a very thin line, but I will tell him what I've done, but I will never tell him that's what he should do. And that's, he doesn't want that or need that, but he does like to hear about things.
But realistically, he really kind of grew up because, his dad, while he was part of the staff, he's just like your sons. He's just like Matt and Tim in your and Jane's eyes, right?
Yeah. This is the first family of Penn football. I'll tell you, it's amazing when you stop and think about it. Wally he was just like a head coach of my staff. An extra head coach is great. Marilyn, his mother, was a super fan. I remember her and Jane driving to Indianapolis in the rain, putting up signs so we'd see them when we're driving to the Dome. And interesting, Trent played on the first undefeated team Penn ever had. Cory played on the first team that ever won a tournament game. That's back when you had to play your way in, when there's only like 4 or 8 teams in it. And Todd was on the first state championship team. So this is the first family of Penn football, and it's a deserved title too.
Cory, when you hear those things from your mentor and friend, it's just not lip service.
No, it's not. But let's be honest too. When we talk football and about ideas about things to do, there's not been too many times he talked about things that he's done and been successful and how he did it and everything else that I don't think he'd and listen and usually spot on, just like he is about everything else, just like he was when he was coaching. And there's a reason he's so successful. He sees the big picture, and he also sees the finite and the small part of it as well too.
There's a wide variety of coaches who reached out to me on Sunday prior to the tournament. Hey, listen, we're going to be having a gathering at so-and-so place, or just the coaches are going to watch, or I'm not even going to watch it. We've had different types of coaches. What did you guys do? Did you guys make a big deal of it, or what did you do?
Well, Chris will probably tell you a story about what happened at Penn one time, but I mean when it was happening during the day, because the draw was a little bit different back then, but we never did. We just kind of always went our separate ways, did our work, went home, and never made a huge deal of it, because I learned this from Gees, and I learned this from my college coaches. They would always say, worry about stuff that you can control. because all you're doing is wasting your time and killing yourself and giving yourself a heart attack if you worry about all the stuff you can't control. And learned a long time ago, I can't control the draw.
All right. Chris, did you, from your standpoint, if the way the tournament is set up now, would you get the team together and would you put them all together in a room, have some pizza, and would you do something special?
You know, I never thought of that. It used to be we were in school. And
right.
When the year we drew Fort Wayne North, they were number 2 or number 1. They did it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had my gym class out at the tennis courts. And Cory sat in my office and listened. And I said, come out and tell me immediately who we drew. So he comes sprinting out with a big smile. Did you get it? He said, we got a great draw. I said, oh, good. Who did we play? He said, Fort Wayne North. I said, no. I said, up at our place? He said, no, down there. I said, that's a great draw. Yeah, that's the thing about him. That's unflappable.
And speaking of great draws, I got you a great draw.
Yeah.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
Let's, Carroll Fort Wayne at Penn, Elkhart at Warsaw. You've already seen Elkhart up close and personal. You know how to play Bart ball because you've done that over the course of your career. So the Carroll Fort Wayne may be a unique dynamic, and I know you probably followed the story, but it was a tough off season for Doug Dynam. They lost their quarterback, and what a tragedy there. But they have a really, really fine football team, and I know you're not working on that, but just based upon relative scores and just reputation, they're going to be a well-coached squad.
Well, if you're running the table over there in the Summit Conference, I mean, you've done something, and North's probably one of the best teams they've had in years and years and years, and Snyder's always outstanding. And look at Dwanger, you look at Lurs, there's some great football programs over there, and going into tomorrow night's Wayne game, looks like they're going to run the table. And Doug and his staff have done a great job, but they got some cats in their team too.
Do you guys, and Chris, I want to include you in this, do you like the bye week that you guys have, the way the tournament is set up? Or will you just assume get to it, or do you think that it's a good thing? You have your druthers. What can you tell me?
I think if you're one of those teams, you're on a roll, you're undefeated and it's rolling just on the same track, it's not bad. But if you're a little banged up or something like that, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that maybe it's nice to get a little bit healthy and go from there. But again, back to the original thing, it's something you can't control. So let's just keep going. Don't make a big deal of it, because I think if you do that, I think your kids catch on to that, especially if you do it in the wrong way.
Chris, what do you think about you didn't have this bye situation when you were the head coach at Penn? Do you like it? Do you have
I think I'd been glad to have it. If there was ever a 17 sectional we got to buy, I'd be happy with that. But I think, the game at Penn's a coach's game, and the longer these guys had to prepare, the better off they're going to be. So, I think it's a bonus for Penn.
Okay, when you look at player personnel, Chris, you've seen Cory's team up close and personal, so you'll tell me the truth. I know you will in this regard, but it's been really neat to see and listen to Mike Fleshman tell me about the maturation of Noah McCullough at quarterback. Of course, his dad was a kid you guys literally fought for to get the chance to play, because he was involved in doing some of that skiing stuff out in Colorado. So talk about Nolan's maturation in the broadcast booth.
I think his best asset is if he makes a mistake, it doesn't lead to a second mistake. We've had quarterbacks even at Penn where they would put their head down and you'd have to pump them back up again. And as a matter of fact, my own son, a quarterback, I heard him at our house down our back. I heard him giving advice to the young quarterbacks. He said, if you throw a pick or you make a mistake, stay away from my dad, stay away from Joe Sassano, go find Coach Pollard. And they run right by me and they go see Coach Pollard.
Well, you've got to have a short-term memory. You really do when you're a quarterback, because you're going to be in every single play, Cory. So let me throw the same question that I threw out to Chris. What do you think about Nolan McCullough?
Well, you know what? He's he is a heck of an athlete, and his legs get him out of a lot of situations, and he's made some mega plays, you know what I mean, being a dual threat quarterback as well, too. I think, you know, what Gees always says, I mean, watching him, he is unflappable, and he bounces back, and he's a great competitor. And, it's, you know, when you compete with people, they're going to make plays, and he's just going to keep battling back. I think probably one of the biggest things is what people don't see. They don't see how hard he works in the off season and what a great leader he is in the off season to all these other guys. And trust me, those guys play hard for him.
I know you don't have the roster in front of you, but do you know how many legacy kids you have on this current roster?
No, we got quite a few. Yeah, we got quite a few.
Over a dozen?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
When you think about that, do you think that's a good thing, or do you think it's a curse?
I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing because, you know what, we're all cut from the same cloth in a certain extent. We're all, you know, we were all part of Geese's program, and we do things a certain way, and their daddies did it a certain way. They did it the same way, and you know, Chris says, you know, my program, I'm just the caretaker of his program right now. So, I mean, to be honest, it's his program, but that's the beauty of it. When he comes back and talks to our guys, everybody knows Coach Geesman and knows what he is, knows what he's done, and knows what he created here and how we do things and how we practice, how we prepare, what we do on a week-to-week basis and why we do it that way. And their dads know it, too, at home. You know what I mean? When they go home or their big brothers or their uncles or wherever the case happens to be. And I think it's great.
You know, you mentioned about the way the season has started with Chris, with the special night of the dedication of the facility down there. We're going to take a time out, but I want you to think about this, how neat that was from your perspective to see the guy who put you in a position to be successful, how neat it was for you to embrace all that. And so we're going to continue our conversation with Cory Yeoman, Chris Geesman, live from Beef O'Brady's. We'll be back right after this short time out on Regional Radio Sports.
Beef O'Brady's is a locally owned, family-operated restaurant designed for food and sports, featuring appetizers, wraps, pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and wings. Beef O'Brady's also broadcasts televised sporting events. The State Road 23 Granger location has carry-out service and includes a party room and an outside patio. More information is available on their website, beefobradys.com, or by calling 574-271-1415. That's 574-271-1415. Beef O'Brady's. Good food, good sports.
Numbers are fine at the deli or donut shop. Next. But you deserve better when you're shopping for a loan or checking account. At TCU, you're a member, not a number. It's how we've done business since 1931, and it means an unmatched level of attention. Ready for better banking? Don't take a number. Next. Become a member today at TCU. TCU, 90 years of personal service. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is now available in select stores across Indiana and online for order at indianafootballdigest.com. This year's digest is packed to the brim, not only with stats and scores, but in-depth and detailed analysis about each Indiana High School Athletic Association team. It also features a section on Indiana collegiate football and quotes from coaches all around the state, giving readers an inside look at the world of Indiana high school football. The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is available in select stores or online at indianafootballdigest.com. The Regional Radio Sports Networks thanks Cuban Networks for their support of high school and college athletics. Since 1986, Cuban Networks is focused on providing a quality experience to their customers. They take computer security seriously and have the necessary tools to keep your digital assets and environment safe. They're located at 103 Polk Street in LaPorte, and their phone number is 219-369-4357. That's 219-369-4357. Cuban Networks, moving and storing data fast and safe.
Great to be with friends here tonight on the coach's box. Cory Yeoman, the head football coach, Penn High School. Also, the architect of the Penn football program, Chris Geesman, joining us here today. All right, Cory, it had to be an emotional week one. First of all, you got a great relationship with the Valpo people that goes way back to the Mark Hoffman days, and I know you've shared many, many times when you were coming out of college that one of the people that you talked to was Mark Hoffman about getting back into football and some advice. I'll never forget that story. But it had to be really neat to be there and be a part of Chris's great moment and to see all those Penn guys who had come back to honor Coach. So can you share your version of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, naturally, leading up to the game, all the work and Bridget Williams and the athletic department and what Jared Thacker and Donna Thacker did, for Geese and the educational foundation. It was a special night, and to orchestrate all that and put it into such a big game and a big atmosphere is exactly what it should have been in, and that's what it was. And to see all those guys from all those years and all those decades, the guys that have played for Geese and were part of that great program. And not just the players, but the coaches, because people don't remember, before we got here, the 3 previous years before, we'd won 3 ball games. And when I say 3, not 3 a year, I'm talking about 3 total in 3 years. And the rest is history. Never had a losing season, and all the championships, National Coach of the Year, and all the great guys, the great staffs he had with the great men that help him, mold these young men, me being one of them, and all the great guys that play for him, and they'd run through a wall for him. They still would, and it's great watching those guys walking on the track and interacting with Coach Geesman, and great to see, and it's not just for Geese. I mean, Jane and Matt and Tim and his whole family, well deserving to have that name up there, and all they've given to this community, because back then, if you think about what Penn High School looked like and what PHM looked like, it wasn't much. And it changed not only the football program, but it changed the school corporation and this whole community, and it blew up. And a lot, I think I know I'm biased, but the biggest reason was because the guy sitting right here, and what Coach Geesman did was something magical that took place in our community.
I think that's an interesting word, magical. I think it was just, I'm going to use the term visionary. I like that because, he had to realize, and I've loved the story, how he talks about how the superintendent, Dr. Spiker, says, I want you to look at Penn here. Yeah. He shared that with us last Thursday on the Legends Show, and I think that he had to buy into what Dean Spiker was talking about with the vision of that. So give Dean Spiker a lot of credit to say to Chris, listen, no offense, if you don't get the job done, I'm going to fire you in 3 years. And but I think some guys just are amazing when the pressure's on.
Well, he's built for pressure, that's for sure, Coach Geesman. Been a lot of pressure situation, but you talk about a visionary, Dr. Spiker. He's something special, and he was, and he's the other guy that helped create this whole community and this program, and the corporation and what all he did. He had a dream, and Geese always talks about the story. He's looking off in the sky, and Geese is looking up in the sky like he's going to see something up there and tell him what he sees. And naturally, when Dr. Spiker talks, you shake your head and say yes a lot. So he was a big mastermind in this well too. Probably his greatest hire ever. My guess is hiring Geese.
Yeah, Chris, I know we talked about that last week. Now, obviously, it was it's not always a given that you get a chance to pick your heir apparent to the throne, if you will. In this case, you had somebody, and I lived through this in the program that I grew up at Hobart, that the initial pick that Coach Don Howell had didn't want the head coaching job. Steve Balish was the guy. He was already coaching 3 sports. He never felt like he wanted to walk in those shoes, but Cory really kind of embraced this. This is part of his DNA, and you knew that, Cory. Geese, you knew that too, that was about him, right?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the funniest thing is I've had coaches tell me that, if it wasn't for your staff, you wouldn't have the record you had. And I don't know if they're trying to hurt my feelings or not, but they couldn't, because they were 100% right.
All right.
And we always said it, and it's not just lip service. Our coaches were like head coaches in their own area. After my 3rd year at Penn, I can't remember ever going to another defensive meeting ever. That's how good those guys were. And they made their own substitutions, their own game plans. Sometimes they told me about it, sometimes they didn't. I remember Wally one time, I got on the phone that somebody completed about 3 straight passes on us. I said, Wally, what's going on? He said, we're playing steel coverage. You better learn to like it, because we're playing it the whole rest of the game.
Okay. So, how long did it take you to trust the guys around you when you first took over?
Luckily, naturally, a lot of those guys from Geese's staff stayed on. And, Chris stepped down, which is huge naturally, and then my dad stepped down, and he liked to go tell people the first thing Cory did was fire me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean that was great in the public to go deal with that, but he had a little sense of humor. But Don Monhood stayed, my position coach, guy I coached with for years and years in the defense, and Art Klinger stayed on board. You know what I mean? Which was great. Wags had just retired a couple of years before that, and but still had, you know what I mean? It still had a lot of those guys. My brother Trent was still on the staff as well too, so that helped a lot.
But still, to this day, every time you bring on a new coach, there's got to be some, a little bit of wiggle room. It's when will I really get to the point where I trust him like I did, a Coach Wagner or Wally or anybody else, where you have that same type of blind faith, if you will.
Well, I think I got a great staff. Pete Reardon does an outstanding job working with the defense, and my son Gary coaching linebackers right now with Coach Witt, another former player of ours.
Sure.
And the thing that the staff has, most of our guys are former guys that played at Penn and won championships, or they're from other schools and won championships. You know what I mean? Or been in the state finals. Right. So adding Witten back on, who'd won championships when he was a player at Penn, and Chris Summers same way, and Antoine Jones won championships where he, when he was at Washington, and so I think it's important. I think champions do things maybe a little bit different, and you know what I'm talking about from where you're from. So, and it's a little bit different, a little different expectations, and the other two, a couple guys from St. Joe when they won championships, were on our staff as well too. So, feel very, very fortunate. Rod Pollock's still our quarterback coach, and been on a lot of the championship teams with it. So, a lot of guys know what it takes to get there, and what you have to do to get there, and it's great to. You feel comfortable. Everybody has, knows their job and knows it extremely well.
True story, and a very unique story. This summer, Tanya and I, this was in June, we were in Maine, and I got a text message from Antoine Jones. And Antoine says, hey, listen, do you have a few minutes to visit? And, of course, you know how I am. When coaches call, I don't say no. So, Antoine, we hook up on the phone, and he asked, I've got an opportunity to go to Penn and be a part of their staff. And he says, what do you think? I says, well, did you sign that? Did you sign the contract already? Because you should have gone right then. And my point to him was this. When you're going to go into the Penn football coaching staff, it's like you're going to be a head coach. You're going to be given more authority than you would ever dream of, that you probably ever gave any of your coaches.
Yep.
And I kind of called them out on that. I said, that's just the way these guys rule. And I said, also then your son's going to get a chance to play in a program that it's nationally known. Nothing against anybody else, but when college coaches, they look at 10 teams in Indiana that they're going to knock on the door. This is going to be one of those situations. So Auden is going to get an opportunity to do that. And I told him, I said, I think this would be the dumbest thing you would ever do if you would say no, because all the factors. That goes back to the way Chris ran the program since the get-go. So I'm not trying to take any credit for that, but that's what I told him.
Appreciate it.
As a non-biased participant.
Well, it's great to have him back. Auden, naturally, Auden played junior high football with all of our guys at Schmucker and grew up with those guys and has remained close friends. And Antoine's done a great job. Antoine's a great player and naturally a great coach and his right in a lot of different places. And he's done exactly what we hoped for. He's brought a lot of, leadership qualities and brings, another perspective to it. And a guy that if you give him a responsibility to do, he's going to take it and own it and do it. And he's done a great job with the tight ends and the H-backs this year as well too, with also other head coaching responsibilities to help my load out a little bit.
All right. So who's playing at their maximum best right now as you're getting ready to go into this regular season finale against John Adams?
Well, you take a look at, naturally, we've already talked about Nolan McCall. I think DJ White has had an outstanding year. Elijah Coker, the other wide receiver, has done a great job too. Naturally, the guys up front, they've given up 4 sacks going into maybe this game. So, they've done a lot of that is Nolan's escapability, to be honest. But those big guys up front have gotten better and better. And the 2 backs with Bayless and Josiah Williams, get after it as well, too. And, we have an opportunity to play 2 tight ends at different times with Cole Bennett. And, you know what I mean? And once we bring him in the ball game, so I think offensive, you look that way. Then defensively, with Treber in the middle and those two linebackers have really, really played well. Wallace Kinich is, of course, at defensive tackle and flies around. Sam Sullivan, and he's had another great year returning starter to bring some of those other guys in. And then the back end, I mean, all those corners and safeties. Taylor Bauer was a returning starter for us as well, and we've played with 4 different corners this year, and all of them are underclassmen and have played well. Dominic Bonner and Vince Horner and Malachi Evans and Cam Anderson. So that's a deep group, and Tommy Paulus and Jackson Griffith at linebackers. So an RC Glover, another guy, gets a chance to start this year, has done a great job at defensive tackle, along with Ryland Frazier. So kicking duties, I think our kicker, punting and kicking, handing off of those. Grant Mallory's done a nice job doing that as well too this year. So I think the beauty of our team is just how they play as a group. It's not one necessarily person, but it's how the style of play and how hard they play, I think, and that's how hard they play. They're a fun group to be around.
Okay, so the games 3 and 4 were losses to Cathedral and St. X. You got to try to get some tougher teams on the schedule. Before the conference season gets underway.
Seemed like a heck of an idea at the time.
It was, but realistically, and I really believe when you play great competition, they expose weaknesses that you don't know that are there.
Yes.
Even though you may think that they are there, but they really, really expose them. And I know that, you look at Cathedral and, their wide receivers going to Purdue, and the quarterback O'Neill's going to be on the cover of our book next year, probably one of the best. He's got like 15 Division I offers already. So, but those kind of teams, is that your mindset? I guess that's what my question is. Expose us.
Well, part of it is, when I played, like Coach Geesman said, you had to win your way in, and every game was, every score, every game matters. There are undefeated teams that didn't make it to the tournament back then. The way it is now, everybody makes it in, and how our schedule's set up with the first 4-gamer non-conference, and they're loaded with great, teams that have won not national championships, but won state championships and multiple times and been ranked highly in the nation as well too. So I think playing like that, it's going to expose something, but it's also going to get your guys ready for the Northern Indiana Conference, and hopefully that's the kind of atmosphere and traveling and doing that kind of stuff, the same thing that happens during the playoffs. You got to make those road games. You have to play competition like that against great people week in and week out and back to back. And I think if you can hold up physically and not get beat up or get too many guys banged up, I think it's a positive thing.
We've seen the breakdown of the Metropolitan Interscholastic Conference with Center Grove and Carmel being sent packing because everybody else was tired of getting their lunch handed to them by those respective two teams. Can we see somewhere down the line that we may see Carmel?
They're already on the schedule. Carmel will be on the schedule the next couple of years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then maybe potential Center Grove?
Well, could be. They're not on right now, but naturally, Eric and I talk, and that could be a possibility down the road. Who knows?
I would think that just continues to, once again, expose situations. And, Chris, I'll never forget the fact that a story that you shared with me that stuck in my mind is the conversation that you had with Coach Delahan when he first decided to bring on Ben Davis onto the schedule and how important that was going to be and kind of setting the tone. Is that kind of where this thing started for you? Is how you thought?
Yeah, we played their national champs in '91. The thing that impressed me about them is they played so fast, faster than any team around here. And I knew we could play at that tempo, but we had to see it first. And I told Dick one time, we were in business together, Legends Advisory Group, and I said, I felt kind of bad because I think we got a lot more out of that rivalry than you did. And he said, no, you didn't. He said, our kids, he said, we had better talent than you every year. And he said, our kids, they saw the value of fundamentals, the value of special teams. He said, we learned so many things about you that made our program better because they saw how successful Penn was doing these type of things, and they realized they could get a lot better too. And he said it really helped them. But the thing that the thing I really liked, the last 3 state championships we won. We lost each one of the 3 years. We lost to Ben Davis in the regular season. But the time we got to Dome Week, we either beat Ben Davis, 96, or we beat the team that beat Ben Davis. We improved a lot more than they did in the course of the season. And it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't played them. As a matter of fact, we had an 89-game win streak that they broke down there, and it's 24-0. But it wasn't 24-0. We were down 14-0 in 5 minutes. They didn't have their ticket situation. There's still big lines, people waiting to get in. We're down 14-0 in 5 minutes. The rest of the game, we scored a touchdown, they scored a touchdown. Ours was called back because of an illegal chop block clear away from the play. Didn't have anything to do with the play. So we should have had a touchdown. They had a touchdown. This is 3.5 quarters. They kicked we missed a field goal. They missed a field goal. But we took the precaution to rough their holder real good, and they got to kick it again. They made their so. If you take out the first 5 minutes of that game, it's a dead even game. And our kids, you could see the tempo improve. And so I just think that was great. The only thing that I'd like to do, if I could set Cory's schedule, I would not play those 2 teams back to back. It'd be nice to play 1 3rd and 1 7th. I mean, I just think at playing two in a row, sometimes it's, you don't have a chance to make the changes that you want to make.
You know, Coach Yeoman, one of the things, because as you mentioned with that non-conference schedule, which I'm a big believer in that too, you take a look at a conference like the Summit Athletic Conference in Fort Wayne, they were in a situation now where they could only play each other because of so many schools, but now they're in a circumstance, they're splitting up divisions, and I've already taken a look, and it looks like Carroll's already playing some of the big schools that are down in that area. So the non-conference aspect that you guys have, I think, has really helped grow. And when talking with Mike Fleshman this morning, he says those non-conference opponents and where you guys are at right now have really helped the Kingsmen improve over the course as you get ready for the postseason tournament.
Well, I'd like to hope so and think so. And the bottom line is this. You're playing with a bunch of, high school guys, young men, and every little boy when he's in the backyard playing catch thinks about playing in championship games, whether they're playing in the state championship or a college national championship or a Super Bowl game. That's what we all dream about doing. Everybody loves playing a big game, and our kids like playing in big games. They're used to that, and I think they enjoy it.
When you look at making the schedule for future years, based upon what Chris says, I'm just going to probably assume that Valparaiso game is something that'll probably always be there because of the long-standing tradition.
Yeah, you got a great respect for their program and their community, and I think they do things the right way, and the schools are very similar to each other, and great respect for their staffs and their players and how they play the game, and I can't remember the first time we played that Geese, but it's been a long time, and I think it's been a good fit for both schools. I think their staff would probably say the same thing.
You look at the last 2 games. You've given up. Well, actually, the last 3 games, you've only given up 3 points in 3 games. So, what's been the defensive mindset over the course of the last 3 games that's really got this group playing at its best level all season?
Well, I think to be honest, I think defense as a whole. I think it's more about an attitude than it is about a bunch of X's and O's and a bunch of schemes. It's how you play how you play together. Do you fit together? Do you buy into the gap theory and everybody has their responsibility? Do your responsibility, and then can you pursue to the football? And then once you get there, can you tackle? And then after you do that, can you get excited and build a little emotion and get guys excited? Create a frenzy if you can. So I think that's what it's about. It's not so much about a front or special coverage or this and that, but buying into what we're doing, how we're doing it, and everybody do their job, and then play as fast as you can and tackle well and get excited. And I think that's what makes a great defense.
Chris has always said, once again, I spent more time quoting him in most of my interviews because I've learned so much about stuff. He's always said that if you have one or two crazy kids, just a kid that's kind of living on the edge in life, depending upon his home situation, that if you have one or two, it can really help your football team. But if you have 4 or 5,
it can sink the ship.
It can sink the ship.
Yeah.
So where are you at with this group?
Well, I've got some guys a little edgy. I mean, a little twitchy, to be honest, and that's all right. And they're good boys. But yeah. I mean, but they get after it, and we've got a couple of those cats.
And more than 2?
Well, probably not more than 2 or maybe 3, but
okay.
Yeah, we're not.
You can live with 3?
Yeah, I can live with
Chris,
3.
Can you live with 3 of those crazy guys?
Yeah, you can live as long as they're not wanting to date your daughter. I'm going to tell you something else about the defense. They got 5 games. The whole second half of the Valpo game was played with the running clock. Penn was ahead 35-0, and when they scored, it was Cory cleared the bench.
Okay, so it was against the reserves.
Yeah, so that was basically a shutout. Same with
the Portage
the next week. So I mean, this it's.
See, the only 3 teams that really scored on the ones were Cathedral, St. X, and Elkhart.
Yep.
So Elkhart, Ramos has done a pretty good job. He's scheduled to be with Tanner next week here on the show, but they've done a formidable job.
Yeah, they have. They've done a really good job. Their staff and their kids are playing hard and fast, and they've got a scheme that they can execute really well.
When you look at New Prairie coming into the Northern Indiana Conference, I think brings a lot of flavor, if I can use that term, because they have a little bit of Penn quality. They're got out there. They've got plenty of room to grow. It could be a big school at some point in time, depending upon the housing market and how that goes. And I think that's got to be a good addition to your staff.
Yeah, well, I think Casey's done a great job, and their staff out there, and I mean, they play physical, they play fast, they get after it on offense and defense, and kind of know who they are and get after it and do what they do.
We're going to take a quick timeout, come back and visit more with Chris Geesman and Cory Yeoman, the longtime tandem that has made high school football at a premium here in the Penn community. We'll be back right after this 2-minute timeout on 91.1 FM The Globe and Regional Radio Sports.
Beef O'Brady's is a locally owned, family-operated restaurant designed for food and sports, featuring appetizers, wraps, pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and wings. Beef O'Brady's also broadcasts televised sporting events. The State Road 23 Granger location has carry-out service and includes a party room and an outside patio. More information is available on their website, beefobradys.com, or by calling 574-271-1415. That's 574-271-1415. Beef O'Brady's. Good food, good sports. The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is now available in select stores across Indiana and online for order at indianafootballdigest.com. This year's digest is packed to the brim, not only with stats and scores, but in-depth and detailed analysis about each Indiana High School Athletic Association team. It also features a section on Indiana collegiate football and quotes from coaches all around the state, giving readers an inside look at the world of Indiana high school football. The 2022 Indiana Football Digest is available in select stores or online at indianafootballdigest.com. Live from Beef O'Brady's in Granger, it's the Coach's Box, every Thursday night at 6 on 91.1 The Globe. Hosted by Indiana Hall of Fame broadcaster Paul Condry, the Coach's Box features in-depth interviews with high school and collegiate level athletes from all around the region. Get the inside scoop from coaches and take a look at the behind-the-scenes world of Indiana athletics. Tune into the Coach's Box once again live every Thursday from Beef O'Brady's on 91.1 The Globe.
Isn't technology wonderful? Buy something with a click and boom, it's at our door. Hungry? Another click and ta-da, it's there in a flash. Why should banking be any different? With TCU Mobile and Online Banking, plus our convenient contactless debit MasterCard, you control your finances anytime from anywhere. TCU makes banking easy with technology that simplifies your life. Learn more at tcunet.com. TCU, 90 years of empowering members. Federally insured by NCUA.
Welcome back here on 91.1 FM The Globe. I'm Paul Condry along with Tanner Camp. This is the Coach's Box from Beef O'Brady's on State Road 23 in Granger, Indiana. The Hall of Famer, Chris Geesman, the Hall of Famer, Cory Yeoman joining us. One of my favorite parts of having Gees on the radio program, Cory, especially when you are not necessarily here, he'll come up and say, well, I shouldn't say this, but Cory will say this. What are you saying that for, Geese? You never said that when I was coaching here. That's one of my favorite things. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, I told him, I said, you better start looking. This is like 3 games in regular season. So you better start sending the crew down, check out Carmel, because you're going to have to beat him to get. Oh, we got 3. Yeah. You said you never talked like that when you were head coach. I said, yeah, but you know the radio booth, you can see things. You can see things a lot clearer.
Yeah. Geese used to throw up my shoes about before every game, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
He never would have done that.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. What is the old saying about it? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I think something to that effect. I don't know if that cliche would fit in here, but when you hear that kind of stuff, is that truly what you say?
No, he's taught me how to do this. I've watched him do it for years. I'm doing what he did. You know what I mean? Now I'm not going to do that. So
that's just too funny. So, we've talked about kids, but we haven't talked about your guys that you get a chance to work with. And I know this is the big difference between Chris and I as head coaches of our respective teams. Chris has always told me that every day he came to work and everybody laughed and everybody had fun.
Yeah.
Paul Condry is now kind of wired that way. Paul Condry is intense from the time he wakes up, from the time he goes to bed. And Donnie Smith, ironically, Donnie will be with me tomorrow night.
Hey.
He is. He's at the Bears game right now, and he's going to come in for one game, so he's going to be doing the Chesterton Maryville game that I'm doing tomorrow.
Tell Donnie I said
I will. But he says, the thing is that what Donnie says, when you hang around Paul Condry, it's zero fun, sir. Zero fun, sir.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I'm wired. So let's talk about the guys you get a chance to yuck it up with, the coaches you work with.
It's a blast. I mean, and that's, you talk about, all the years we've done this, and you go to this job, and some people call it work. It's never been work to us. I mean, I can't believe they're paying us to do what we do, because it's a blast. And so look at the staff. I mean, I've got a great staff, and this is one of those things. If I walk away and, you know what I mean, not there for a practice or something, which I'm never not there, but
sure,
they could run it fine and it wouldn't miss a beat. So on the offensive side, Trent's offensive coordinator, my brother Trent. Joey Beeler, former players, handles the wide receivers. Antoine Jones handles our tight ends and our H-backs. Poor Antron's been, had some back issues this year. So Jason McCuza, former coach, is back out helping as well in the interim. Now Brent Leidig, former player, again played on championship teams, the offensive line coach with another former player, Chris Summers. Running back coach or our strength coach, Matt Cates, done a great job with our strength program and everything else. And Matt's done a great job with those guys. Rod Pollock, longtime quarterback coach, is a quarterback coach. On the defensive side of the ball, up front, Brian Madison, former great and All-State and, All-American and everything at Iowa, and played in the NFL, is a defensive line coach along with Raul Donati. Our defensive analyst that runs our offensive scout team, Pat McCall, a long time, coach as well, and jumps back, does a great job. Linebackers, my son Gary, had a great career at Penn, and an All-American in college, and all that, and it does a great job with our linebackers. Coach Witten's helping him out with the linebackers, and then Bailey Mott, which I'll give a shout out today, is the new daddy. Emma and Bailey have their son Titus today, and Coach Pollock's waiting for their daughter Lexi. I think she's going to be delivering sometime tonight as well too. So we had 2 babies from our staff and one day, which is exciting. So Coach Mott and Coach Reardon on the defensive backfield. So great staff. You know what I mean? Jamie Wolf and Trish Irvin are trainers. Again, they're not on the coaching staff, but what they do for our players and keep our guys healthy and safe and get them back and do a fabulous job as well. We were lucky. I mean, Doc was our trainer for years and years, and there's probably no more important person on our staff than Doc was back then, and I feel that way about Trish and Jamie as well too.
Yeah.
Chris, you said that there's not a lot. Penn's biggest strength is they don't have any weaknesses. Now, I'm sure Cory's thinking, well, I see lots of weaknesses every day.
A little bit different than you.
I'm thinking, Chris, what do you see that you don't see any weaknesses in Cory? Do you have weaknesses? Chris says you don't, so there's got to be.
Well, the thing that gets me, I want to say one thing first. I had a couple times during 2 days, I'd have to give a speech somewhere. and I'd miss a morning or anything, and I'd come back and say, how'd it go? And I got the same reply every time. Best we ever had. That shows you how much I was missed.
Yeah. So, Cory, so you have no weaknesses. That's according to Chris.
The thing is this. I mean, you can always see your own team's weakness if you're with them every day. I'm not with them every day, Cory is, and I'm sure there's things he'd like to do better. But I'm saying from just knowing football but not being around his team. I mean, their offense is good. Their defense is good. I mean, their passing game probably will get more consistent, but it's a threat. Their DBs have improved light years since second week of the season. The thing is, if I just not knowing the team like Cory does, it'd be kind of hard to figure out how you want to attack them.
That was my next question.
Good.
If you're scouting this group, what are you going to do? Where are you going to attack this group at?
Wait a minute, Paul. Don't ask the Hall of Famer how to beat the team, for crying out loud.
So the question is this?
There may be a few people listening to this.
Can this team win? Can this team win on a bad weather night?
Oh yeah, that's Penn weather we call it around here. It's not bad weather. Okay. I mean, we have a thing, and I don't know where it is now. We used to have a Legends game. If the weather was so bad, and we'd show it to kids, if we had a game coming up and the weather was horrible all week, said, you guys are lucky. You got a chance to be in the Legends game. What's that? And we'd show them like 4 or 5 games in snowstorms. These are Legend games. You got a chance to be in one. And they'd get fired up about playing. I want to tell you one other thing about going to Fort Wayne North. Timmy Beeler, one of our friends, he said, man, we got to go down there and play. I said, Tim, that's a great advantage. You remember, when you leave school on the home game, there's a traffic jam in our parking lot. It takes you about a half hour to get out. Then you go home. You got to eat real fast, get your stuff, and get back for meetings. And you just don't have any time to relax. I said, we're going to take a Trailways bus to Fort Wayne. You're going to sit back and you're going to relax. You might take a little nap. You're going to gently talk to your teammate. And I said, this is great. And then we played Snyder 2 weeks later. Timmy says, gosh, that bad deal. We got to play him at home. So, I mean, it's like your schedule. It's like anything else. You can put any spin on that stuff you want to.
All right, final thought, Cory. Got a game against Adams tomorrow. It's always this is something I've always felt, that when you have a team that on paper you're better than, it's really the hardest game to coach from a motivational standpoint, where you got to get these guys. And I know what Chris is going to say. We only got a chance to play 10 games in a year, so you're trying to stay away from Chris's cliche on this one. So what are you going to have to do to get this team motivated to come out and punch Adams in the face?
Well, we're playing for, right now, if things happen, I mean, we could share the Northern Indiana Conference Championship. We're going to try to win it outright, and that's the battle cry, try to win it outright. I mean, Adams got some great players in their team, and they got some playmakers in their team, some great skill guys, some big guys up front, and we're going to have to, get after them. And, again, try to get a little bit better this game than we were the last game. So every day if we get a little better, that's the mantra. Every day try to get a little better. Every day at practice, every game try to get a little better. And then great things are going to happen for you down the road.
Paul, let me say just 2 things, too. The only people that say it's going to be an easy game is somebody that doesn't have to play in it.
Okay.
So you kids got to understand that. I mean, kid next to you in math class, your teacher, your parents, the fat lady that lives down the street, they're all going to tell you
sportscaster that's going out to Northwest Indiana tomorrow.
Yeah. And the other thing is, they might be a bad team, but there's going to be a couple of you that are going to be in the fight of your life because they got some players. They don't have enough, but they got some. So, I mean, that's what you got to understand. you might be going against their best guy, and the best guy's good. And anybody that tells you it's easy doesn't have to play in it. So, just take that in one ear and out the other.
Chris, thanks for being here 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, it's great.
Appreciate it. Cory, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your guys' long-time support. Boy, the hour just flew by here. Thanks to Dante Stan for Tanner Camp. I'm Paul Condry on behalf of all of us at Regional Radio.